Hello, my name is Afia Shamim, and this is my field research presentation. The purpose of conducting these interviews is to not only get a better understanding of different roles in special education, but to also learn more about different ideas such as procedures, advocacy, challenges, scheduling, lesson plans, and more. I would like to have a deeper understanding of special education and how each person plays a different part, but is as equally important. I would like to also acquire strategies on how to maintain a successful classroom. Doing these interviews also increased my sense of empathy and purpose for this career choice. So, in terms of participants, there was an interviewer, and the interviewer is me, Afia Shamim. I am a 22-year-old female who is an Asian Indian. I study at Lewis University and I'm a senior. I hope to be a future early childhood and special education teacher. I had 3 interviewees. My first interviewee was Danielle. She is a special education teacher and she is my mom's friend's former coworker. My second interviewee was Diana. Diana is my friend's mom. She is also a special education teacher. My third interviewee was Farha. Farha is my mom and she is a parent with a child with disabilities. In terms of my procedure of setting these interviews up, I had contacted each interviewee separately to set up a time to do these interviews. All the interviews were done during the evening time, which is something I noticed, and Danielle and Diana's interviews were done through phone, and Farha's was done in person. All the 3 interviewees gave permission to record the conversation. All 3 interviewees were also asked the same questions, although I changed the wording a little bit for Farha's interview as her role was different. She was a parent. Each interview time averaged about 18 to 20 minutes. While conducting this interview, I took active notes. After the interview was complete, I also went back and transcribed each interview as much as I can to soak in all the information. So my first interviewee was Danielle. Danielle is currently a special education teacher in a self-contained classroom. She works with her children almost the whole day. She taught children in the past with several different needs, such as multiple disabilities, cognitive impairments, autism, developmental delays, and more. When she talks about procedures, she feels that procedures are an important part of special education. She works with a case manager to ensure all children's IEP goals are being met. She also follows up annually with specific goals to see what's working for a child and what isn't. In terms of knowledge, Danielle explains how she understands deeply what she already knows. She also understands that there's always something new to be learned, and so the answer to if she has a substantial amount of knowledge on the topic of special education, her answer is yes and no. An example that she gave for positive experiences is that she loves how her students interpret the world so differently. She strongly encourages creativity and with that understands that each child will achieve their goals differently. Something that makes her happy is when the students achieve the small goals they build. In terms of challenges, she feels that one of the biggest challenges is communication. When working with her nonverbal students, Danielle finds herself feeling upset that she doesn't always know what they're feeling. They could be mad, sad, happy, angry, or any other emotion, and sometimes she never knows because they won't speak up and say something because they can't. It can be hard to convey their feelings and what they want to say, but Danielle feels the best way to work on this is through getting to know the child deeply. This will be done through extensive time with them every single day, as well as talking to their families about their likes and dislikes and what works best for them to communicate. In terms of advocacy, Danielle always advocates for her children by bragging about their accomplishments to other teachers as well as their parents, using her own voice when hearing or seeing discrimination in school or in public areas, and encouraging her own students with disabilities to get involved in extracurricular activities or clubs. Some advice that she gives future educators is try our best, ask a lot of questions, build strong and positive relationships, and be open-minded. Diana was my second interviewee. She is currently a co-teacher in special elementary classroom. She does content teaching while also maintaining IEP goals. She has been around all different types of classrooms, such as alternative placements at high schools. She's been in a first grade special education classroom in a Kota environment, and she has done dual language programs in special education classrooms. When she talks about procedures, she says that she does daily checks to see what each child needs individually. She explains that content is based on each child. Some may be learning functional skills while others may have academic goals. In terms of knowledge, Diana also explains how she has knowledge on the topic but is still learning. Things have changed from when she first started working to now. One can never be experienced in special education because there will always be new policies, diagnoses, state laws, and etc. One thing she said that stood out to me was you never stop learning. When asked about her positive experiences, Diana says in general that she loves hearing success stories. An example of a success story that she gave to us was a student that she had over 10 years ago that had really bad behavioral issues. That student came back 10 years later and had improved significantly, and it felt really rewarding to see that. Diana explains that she stays in constant communication with families to advocate. She reminds parents and students about the negative stigma around special education that shouldn't be there, and that parents and students should not feel afraid to get help or use their resources. She also personally invites parents and students out for special events. Some advice that she gives for future educators is to not give up passion for student teaching when feeling burnt out, staying professional even with difficult relationships, being patient with lesson plans and content, and understanding children's home lives. My third interview is Farha. Farha is a parent to a child with a disability. Some of the procedures she talked about is the idea of IEP. Farha used to communicate with Aisha's teachers about her developmental IEPs every single day. She met with Aisha's teachers every 3 months to update and discuss her IEP goals. When asked about her knowledge on special education, Farha explains that before receiving Aisha's diagnosis, she did not know anything about special education. After working with many social workers, special education teachers, and other professionals at the time of her diagnosis, she felt she had a bigger and better understanding of it. Now in the present, she feels she still remembers many procedures, but she realizes that things have changed and she may not know as much as she lets on. When asked about positive experiences, Farha explains that the teachers were really caring and accommodating to Aisha. They had a deep and strong relationship with the family, so deep that Farha had felt very comfortable with Aisha's teachers. She trusted them with Aisha because of their active communication. She felt also very powerful and authoritative over her daughter's rights at IEP meetings because the professionals she worked with were very understanding and accommodating to her needs. She didn't have many challenges when working in special education with her daughter, but the only challenge that Farha encountered in the special education field was with a few bus drivers. She witnessed them being very rough with Aisha when transferring her in and out of the bus. While she didn't speak about up at the time, she hopes that the bus drivers and other transportation services and professionals are being monitored while caring for children with disabilities so they aren't being treated poorly. For advocation, Farha continues to advocate and promote inclusion and anti-bullying for people with disabilities. She hopes in the future that schools will be filled with teachers and professionals that have empathy and passion for working, so no child is treated poorly. Some advice that she gives to teachers as a parent is she would hope that teachers continue to stay empathetic and patient towards students and families with disabilities. For my overall findings and discussion, I found that most of the common themes were found amongst the teacher interviewees. Both had the same ideas about positive experiences. They also talked about similar things when it came to advocacy and advice for future educators. Clear understandings of IEP procedures were similar, as well as positive experiences and knowledge and ideas on knowledge were also similar. All three interviews agreed on the importance of advocacy. For my discussion, I realized that special education isn't very easy. We future educators need to be motivated by the reward of their success that we see from our hard work. Some of the key takeaways and implications that I hope to apply in my education experience is teamwork. This means working with my own team, with other professionals, with my students, and with the family all together in a positive manner. Having positive relationships so I can connect with the child and the families so I can learn more about them. And teachers are always continuing to learn. As we talked about with both the teachers, they explain how they know a lot of information, but that they will also continue to learn more, which is something important for us as educators, is to not be ignorant to the idea of always being open and learning. Communication is very, very much key when working with special education classrooms and working with children with disabilities. It's important to understand that we are not alone, and communicating with our team and our parents and families will help us learn more about students as well as ourselves. Lastly, but not least, I would also love to advocate for my students, because that is one of the most important things that they need.